This video offers encouragement if you're stuck in your relationship, in your unhealthy, dead-end relationship, and you're feeling pathetic, you're calling yourself names. You can stop doing that. You can stop being hard on yourself. There are a number of reasons why you're stuck. This struggle is real. Stay tuned. I'm Alan Robarge, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Welcome to the New Love Addiction, where we are not talking about addiction. We're talking about attachment injuries and healing attachment trauma. Let's talk about the secondary layers, the additional responses to feeling stuck in a relationship. And what I mean by the additional layers is that there's the immediacy of just being stuck and you're struggling. And then on top of it, you add a judgment, you have a layer that over time, because you can't leave, because you are stuck, and you're struggling to find resource, and you're struggling to create a plan, and you're struggling to have agency to move forward and to assert yourself to end the relationship. So in addition, then you feel bad about yourself and you start calling yourself names. And you start judging yourself. You start directing aggression towards yourself. And you're hard on yourself. And I have heard from a number of people, they're very quick to call themselves pathetic. You know, you're so pathetic for being in this place. That's not true. Or we need to counter that with some compassion and to acknowledge that this struggle is real. There are any number of reasons why you are currently stuck and that you're feeling this incredible gridlock and not knowing how to turn right, how to turn left. So the degree to which you are stuck speaks to the degree of your attachment injury. Now, of course, I don't totally know. I mean, some of this is, creative thinking on my part. I don't know everyone's situation. I don't know your situation. But for myself, in my history, I too have had an experience or multiple experiences of getting stuck in a relationship, and I can't leave, and I lose my spirit. I lose my sense of self. And what is going on here? Because in other areas of my life, I have resource, I have agency, I have a sense of insight and intellectual understanding to be able to make a plan and move forward in achieving a goal. And nonetheless, in these relationships that I have experienced, I too have found myself in a state of paralysis and a state of getting stuck. We bring curiosity, as painful as this is, we bring curiosity to this dynamic and say, well, isn't this interesting? There are other areas of my life where I very clearly am able to have a goal, pursue a goal, protect myself, know what I like, know what I don't like. But when it comes to interpersonal relating, and when it comes to intimacy and vulnerability and attachment and getting stuck in an insecure attachment or a dysfunctional, unhealthy relationship where it is based on insecure attachment, I shut down. I disconnect from my resource and essentially keep looping in that place. So if you look at the degree to which you were stuck, it mirrors the degree of your wounding, the depth of your attachment wounding. It mirrors the history of not having had agency or the ability to move beyond, move out of unhealthy, unhelpful relationships in your family, where you essentially were trained to endure, you were trained to survive, you were trained to make the most of it, and you were trained that there are no options. especially from a child point of view. How can you leave? There's no options. So chances are, and again, I don't know your history, it's, there's a whole range, there's a whole continuum of, attachment injuries and attachment trauma and how they play out. So I'm making a bit of a guess here. I'm taking some liberties, but I'm assuming that you have had some kind of history where you were stuck. And this level and the degree of stuck, the stuckness, the stuck nature, is mirroring what happened in your past, that you never were able to confront the family system. You were never able to confront the relationships within your family system and say, hey everyone, this is not working and I need to make a change. I need to make something happen. Now, many people actually did attempt to make a change. They just did it in an unskilled way. So perhaps they became the rebel in the family. They started acting out. They picked up an addiction and started drinking at a young age, doing something as a response to say, hey family, you're not listening, you're not paying attention, you're not connecting to me in the way that I need to be connected. So how this plays out in our adult relationships is that we're recreating scenarios of being stuck. And if you live this day in and day out, this wears down your spirit. So if you don't have a self, if you've lost your spirit, if you've lost your sense of self, now stay with me on this one. I really like this idea. The idea I'm going to share here is that if you lost your sense of self, you don't really have a self anymore to take action, to stand up, to make a plan, and to leave. We need the self to employ agency. Agency is the power that moves us forward. Agency is, what can I do in this world? How can I make something happen? How can I have a sense of self-assuredness that I can move from point A to point B, or I can accomplish plan A or plan B or plan C, whatever the specifics are. You need a sense of strong self, a reliable self to leave, to move forward. And if your self is not here, you're not fully here, you're not present, you're not in the fullness because you're in trauma mind, you're in dissociated mind. The attachment injuries driving the bus, the attachment trauma, you're in the attachment trauma system, which disempowers you, belittles your sense of agency, your spirit wilts, and you don't have a sense of self. You feel like you're not here. People report feeling like a shell. You're just a shell showing up in relationship. You're just going through the motions, and you hear these words, this is painful stuff. It's so painful. So on top of it, you've been stuck for months and months. You've been stuck for years and years. You're feeling this incredible empty shell nature. You don't have a self, so it makes it very hard to muster up the agency and the ability to move forward with an ending and actually create an ending. You can't leave. This struggle is real. So what do we do on top of it? We give ourselves a hard time. We shame ourselves. So this system, this stuck nature dynamic came from a system, a dysfunctional family system, where most probably there's shame floating in the system, a system that's closed, that does not allow all family members to be seen, known, heard, and understood, and for the ability to create change, that inherently that's a kind of shame environment. The system itself, has this shame that other family members are picking up. Because it is a shameful thing to shut down other family members. It is shameful to train children not to feel like they have a voice and not to feel like they are fully being received for who they are. This is hurtful. And so that's a shameful thing. That's an acknowledging that is a shameful act within the family system. And if people are not having a corrective, healing, reparations to own the shame and to realize, hey, this is hurting everybody. This is impacting how we interact. This is impacting our development of self. This is impacting our personality structure and how we show up in the world and orient to moving forward in life. And this is impacting setting us up to have dysfunctional relationships in the future as adults. Well, that as a system is a shameful thing to do. And if there is not collective conscious acknowledgement, then we are going to absorb that shame, and we shame ourselves, and we realize, well, I don't really matter, I'm not good enough, I'm not that important. And when we need to figure out how to leave, and we know we can't leave, and we know that we're stuck, sometimes what we do is we return to the shame. Now, there's a tricky thing about this. There's this undercurrent or a secondary component of the shame of being hard on yourself, of judging yourself. You're pathetic. You're so pathetic. One reason why we feel that we're pathetic is that we get feedback from other people around us that if they are aware that we have been stuck for months and months and months, or years and years and years, and we have told our story, I'm unhappy in this relationship, and I'm unhappy, I can't leave. Over time, understandably, people get a little worn out trying to be supportive, and they might even give you feedback that you are pathetic. They might be aggressive. The quality of tough love, which we can put that in quotes, and there's a lot of code. It's has a permission to be aggressive. There's so much aggression in that tough love idea, under the guise of being supportive and loving. It's not always that way. I think originally the goodness of the idea of tough love is saying, well, can we have a strong boundary and enforce a boundary? But oftentimes it comes with aggression. And so if we've been receiving feedback enough already, leave. What's wrong with you? Why don't you just leave this relationship? And someone might have even used hurtful words to call you a few names and to tell you that you are pathetic. Well, you're not. There's a reason why this is happening. And then if you start to call yourself that name, let me share with you one reason why we're hard on ourselves is because we perceive that being hard on ourselves, or we think that being hard on ourselves will actually light a fire under ourselves. So people use being hard on themselves as a motivator. And I have heard over the years, many, many times of working with clients, people will say, well, if I stop being hard on myself, then how will I achieve my goals? Well, then how will I, improve with what I need to improve? And I always challenge that. And I say, well, practice doing it do you think it's possible that you could light a fire under your ass based upon, passion and drive and inspiration, and not disparagingly direct aggression at your being and be judgmental and give yourself a hard time if you fail or you stumble in the process of trying to make a change or achieve a goal. So there's a bit of a very fancy, sophisticated, slippery idea around using self-judgment as a motivator. And one reason why we give ourselves a hard time is it is an attempt to create control. So if you're stuck, if you lost your sense of self, your partner is not helping you get out of this relationship, your partner's not helping move things forward, and there's this incredible gridlock feeling, and you feel depleted. One way to work with an out-of-control situation is to blame yourself. And this we see very much with children. It's so easy. If mom and dad are getting a divorce, and it's so confusing and does not make sense to the child, and the child struggles to change mom or dad, struggles to make mom or dad do something different, the child's feeling out of control. That's a very groundless, scary place. The parents are getting divorced. Perhaps there's chaos, perhaps there's aggression, perhaps there's all this tension and shame and grief and confusion. And the child cannot make sense of this. The child feels out of control. So one thing a child can do is to blame herself and to blame himself and to say, oh, well, it must be because I'm a bad mid, or it must be mom and dad are getting a divorce because there's something wrong with me. Oh, good. If there's something wrong with me, well, then it will simulate internally, say, well, I can work with that. Internally, I can challenge myself to improve, to do something about it. I know I'm going to be an overachiever now. I'm going to get all A's, and I'm going to, become president of this organization, and I'm going to become super social and have all the best friends and work really, really hard. And underneath it all is because I think there's something wrong with me, and I'm blaming myself. And this perhaps, of course, is all very subconscious. But in your current situation, if you're feeling stuck and you start judging yourself harshly and calling yourself names, and concluding, that you must be just this mess of a person, and you just feel so horrible about yourself. And then on top of it, you add the layer of saying that you're pathetic, calling yourself a name. Chances are you're doing that because there's this other secondary component, or this other thread of intention that you're trying very hard to muster up some sense of control. And that you can't change the external situation, you can't change your partner, you're noticing you're struggling to get out of the relationship. But if you can judge yourself enough and be hard on yourself, sometimes that creates a temporary sense of control. And that's what you're looking for. You're feeling out of control in a situation where you don't have any control to leave. Lastly, what I want to talk about is attachment trauma. And very simplistically, you're stuck because you're living out attachment trauma. This is the point. This is the point of all my videos. This is the point of the Facebook group. This is the point of my blogs. This is the point of all of this content, that you're not just stuck because you're failing to leave properly. You're just failing to leave. No, this is the result. This is what happens when a person comes from a history where there are so many attachment injuries that have accumulated, and the nervous system and the brain has coded itself in such a way that insecure attachment and the thought of ending a relationship is impossible, and it triggers this profound fear of abandonment. It is incredibly painful, to the point where your psyche and your nervous system has registered this as a life or death situation that says, I'd rather stay stuck, lose my spirit, and die in this dead-end relationship than actually be able to confront and feel the intensity of the grief and the fear and the groundlessness that is the byproduct of my family history. So to affirm in a very simplistic way, you are stuck because you are still stuck in your attachment trauma. And I can relate to this on many examples, many ways with many examples. But one example, having ended a relationship, leaving in the car, leaving the very last conversation, driving away, and only got about a block and a half away in the car, pulled over to the side of the road, and I was paralyzed. I was terrified. Logically, and hopefully by my videos, hopefully in this moment, I'm assuming I communicate via my videos that I have some awareness about me. I can rely on my intelligence. So in that moment, I had my intelligence. I knew it was over. I knew the relationship was not a good relationship. I knew it was time to end. I knew it was time to end, very early on. Nonetheless, the relationship ends, and my body physically, I'm sitting in the car, and I just start speaking out loud. I can't leave. I can't leave. It just did not compute in my brain. This idea of leaving is like driving into the abyss. And that moment is so crazy making, because, to repeat what I just said, I have this other part of my brain, my logical, rational part, technically it's, your frontal lobe, your cortex, your neocortex, the seat of consciousness, the place that's thinking. I'm observing this whole thing and saying, well, this just does not make sense. This relationship is not that important. This relationship is not good. I know this relationship is not good. But nonetheless, my body, I'm feeling the experience, the trauma response, fight, flight, or freeze response, and the response of getting stuck getting frozen. And I'm sitting there, and it took me 45 minutes of just talking myself, go, drive, let's go. This video is to acknowledge that the byproduct and the experience of living in an attachment trauma means very much that you get stuck in relationship. And we don't just very quickly get unstuck. And that it's working with this stuck nature, it's working with the reality of being stuck. That's the healing. And that's pointing towards saying, well, this is attachment trauma. This is complex PTSD. This is emotional, developmental, relational trauma that you are working out. And you are in the middle of it. You are in the throes of it. You are completely activated. You're disconnected from resource. And you're just spinning, looping in this stuck place. So empathy to you. This is painful. Take a breath and stop calling yourself pathetic. Begin to pull out and look at the whole dynamic, look at the situation, and realize the degree to which you're stuck is mirroring the degree of the attachment trauma from which you came. Blessings to you. I hope that this is helpful. If you like this video, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. There's more videos on its way, just like this one. And if you want to talk to other people who are having similar experiences, who also are educating themselves about attachment injuries and attachment trauma, and understanding these dynamics are very real and things that are not unique to you. Many of us experience this. If you want to talk to other people and chat in a chat room on Facebook, please join the Facebook group. And then lastly, if you want to learn more about me, please do. You can learn more at alanrobarge.com. Thank you for listening. More videos to come. Stay tuned. See you next time.